Arav Kapoor, a ruthless young CEO, prided himself on running his life and business with absolute control. That morning, he looked at his pregnant wife, Mira, and their 2-year-old daughter, Anya, and said coldly, "You and Anya are a burden on me. Pack your things, you're leaving this house." Mira's heart shattered, but she knew arguing would change nothing. She gathered what little she could, held Anya close, and stepped out of the life she had once dreamed of. But fate had its own plan. Pain shot through her abdomen. She was going into labor. With trembling hands, she clutched Anya and rushed to the nearest hospital, her world spinning with fear and despair. Little did Arav know, his cruel words that morning would ignite a chain of events threatening not just his pride and empire, but the very heart he refused to acknowledge. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Kapoor penthouse, glinting off the polished marble floors. But no warmth reached Mira's heart. Arav stood by the kitchen island, impeccably dressed, exuding the cold, controlled confidence that had always both attracted and terrified her. Today, though, that confidence felt like a weapon pointed straight at her chest. "You and Anya are a burden on me," he said, his voice low, almost venomous. "Pack your things. You're leaving this house. Now." Mira froze, the words sinking like ice. She had heard him speak harshly before, but this was different. This was final. Anya, her tiny daughter with golden curls, looked up at her with wide, innocent eyes, sensing the tension but not understanding the cruelty behind it. "But Arav," Mira started, her voice trembling. "I'm weird, don't," he snapped, cutting her off. "I said enough. You are a burden. My work, my life. I can't carry both you and the baby. You have to leave today." Tears welled in Mira's eyes, but she forced herself to nod. Arguing would do nothing. Arav had made his decision, and he would not bend. Her heart ached as she scooped Anya into her arms, holding her close. She traced the curve of her own belly, feeling the life of her unborn child, and whispered a shaky promise. "I'll get us through this. I promise." She packed only what she could carry: diapers, baby clothes, a few essentials. Memories of happier times in that very home flashed through her mind, laughter echoing in the living room, Arav cradling Anya for the first time, their wedding night when they had whispered dreams about the future. All of it felt like another lifetime. Another person. The elevator ride down to the lobby was silent except for Anya's small whimpers. People in the building glanced at her, but no one stopped. And why would they? She looked like any other mother with her child. But inside, Mira felt broken, exposed. Outside, the city hummed with life, indifferent to her despair. The car she had called waited, engine idling. She climbed in, holding Anya close to her chest. The minute she buckled herself in, a sharp, stabbing pain gripped her abdomen. She gasped, clutching herself, and Anya's eyes widened. "Mommy," the little girl whispered, sensing her mother's distress. Mira swallowed her panic and forced a smile. "It's okay, sweetheart. Mommy's fine," she lied, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. Another wave of pain hit, stronger this time. She bit her lip to stop a scream and whispered, "We need to get to the hospital, Anya." The driver, sensing urgency, accelerated. Mira gripped Anya tighter, feeling the rhythmic panic in her own heartbeat. Memories of Arav's cold eyes flashed before her. "He has no idea what's happening right now. He pushed us out, and now I'm on my own." The pain came in sharp waves, each one more intense than the last. She could barely breathe through them, sweat breaking on her forehead. "Mommy's okay, Anya," she murmured repeatedly, more to convince herself than her daughter. But deep down, fear gnawed at her. She had no one to call, no one to help, and the city streets, filled with honking cars and impatient pedestrians, offered no mercy. By the time they reached the hospital, her steps were shaky. She barely managed to get Anya out of the car and into the lobby. The hospital staff noticed her distress immediately. Nurses rushed toward her, taking Anya gently from her arms. "She's in labor," Mira gasped between contractions. Please help us." One nurse guided her toward a wheelchair, while another called for the obstetric team. Mira's body shuddered as pain tore through her, and she sank into the chair. Her eyes, wet with tears, scanned the lobby, overwhelmed, scared, utterly alone. But Anya, clutching the nurse's hand, looked up at her and smiled weakly. That tiny smile, innocent and trusting, anchored Mira. "Stay with me, baby girl," she whispered. "Mommy will get us through this." In that moment, the world outside the city, Arav, the life she had lost, faded into insignificance. There was only her daughter, her unborn child, and the fight to survive the next few hours. And somewhere, far away, Arav was in his glass tower, oblivious to the storm he had unleashed. The hospital hallway smelled of antiseptic and urgency. Nurses and doctors moved swiftly, their footsteps echoing off the polished floors. Mira gritted her teeth as another contraction hit, bending her forward in the wheelchair. Anya clung to her hand, sensing that something important was happening, though too young to understand. Almost there. Mrs. Kapoor, you're going to be fine, one of the nurses said, pushing her toward the delivery room. Mira tried to nod, but pain made her vision blur. Her breaths came in short, ragged gasps. The world around her was a whirlwind of bright lights, beeping monitors, and anxious faces. Finally, they reached the delivery room. Mira lay back on the bed, her body trembling. The obstetrician quickly assessed her. It's time. Breathe. Push when I tell you, she instructed. Her voice calm but firm. Mira clenched Anya's small hand, drawing strength from her daughter's innocent gaze. I have to survive this. For them, no matter what. Meanwhile, miles away, Araf's penthouse was quiet. His office, usually a place of control and command, felt strangely hollow. His phone buzzed incessantly, mails, messages, and an unknown number calling repeatedly. Irritated, he picked it up. Mr. Kapoor, this is the hospital. Your wife, she went into labor. She's here with your daughter, the voice on the other end said. For a moment, Araf felt nothing. Then, as if someone had yanked the air from his lungs, reality hit. His chest tightened. She went to the hospital alone. She didn't call me. Panic surged, alien and unwelcome. He sank into his chair, mind racing. Back in the hospital, the contractions were relentless. Mira's body shook with each push, her breaths ragged. The nurses coached her. The obstetrician guided her, but there was no hiding the fear in Mira's eyes. I can do this. I have to. Anya sat nearby, clutching her mother's arm. She babbled softly, trying to distract her, but Mira could barely focus. Then, with a sudden, intense wave of pain, Mira cried out, "It's coming. I can feel it." The room became a flurry of activity. Nurses moved with practiced precision, monitoring Mira and preparing for the delivery. Amid the chaos, Mira's mind flashed to Arav. How could he be so cruel? How could he push us out like this? But there was no time for anger, only survival. After what felt like an eternity, the cries of a newborn filled the room. Tears streamed down Mira's face as she reached out to hold her baby. A tiny, fragile life, already depending on her strength, rested in her arms. She looked at the baby and whispered, "Welcome to the world, little one. Mommy will never leave you." Anya, fascinated and cautious, peered at her new sibling. "Baby?" she asked softly. Mira smiled through tears, her heart swelling despite the exhaustion and pain. But just as a fragile sense of relief settled over her, the nurse leaned close, whispering urgently, "Your husband, he's here." He insisted on coming immediately. Mira froze. Arav, here? After everything? Her heart pounded in anticipation and fear. She had no idea whether he came out of concern, guilt, or sheer curiosity. Arav stormed into the room moments later, sharply dressed but visibly shaken. His usual composed demeanor was fractured. The sight of Mira, pale and exhausted, holding their newborn, with Anya by her side, hit him like a blow. "Mira," he started, his voice breaking slightly, a rarity for him. I didn't know. I didn't," she cut him off, eyes blazing with both exhaustion and defiance. "You didn't know, or you didn't care. You kicked us out, Arav. You said we were a burden. And now you show up, like this." Arav opened his mouth, searching for words, but none came. The weight of his actions pressed down on him. He had wanted control, perfection, distance, but now, confronted with the vulnerability of the woman he claimed to love and the innocent lives he had endangered, he felt powerless. Mira turned to the nurses, handing the newborn into their care. She drew Anya close. "We're fine. Don't touch us with your guilt, Arav. We survived without you. And we'll keep surviving, with or without your approval." Araf's jaw tightened. He wanted to argue, to demand forgiveness, to explain himself, but every argument sounded hollow. The sight of his daughter's tiny, fragile sibling, and the realization that his cold decisions could have cost them their lives, hit him harder than any business failure ever could. For the first time in years, he felt fear, not for his empire, not for his reputation, but for the people he loved and had nearly destroyed. Mira watched him carefully. She could see the flicker of regret in his eyes, but she wasn't ready to forgive. Not yet. Not until he understood that love wasn't a transaction, and that protecting a family meant more than protecting a business. As the room settled, the newborn crying softly in the nurse's arms and Anya curled against her mother, Mira knew this was only the beginning. Arav's journey toward understanding and redemption had just started, and She would not let him take that lightly. The hospital room was quiet now, except for the soft cries of the newborn and the gentle coos of Anya, who had finally calmed into her mother's embrace. Mira sat on the edge of the bed, her hair disheveled, her face pale but determined. 2 children now depended solely on her strength, and she was ready to protect them at any cost. Arav lingered by the doorway, his usual aura of authority gone, replaced by uncertainty and raw guilt. He had spent hours replaying every word, every cruel gesture from that morning. His mind wouldn't stop. I pushed them out of our home. I didn't even know she was in labor. I could have lost them. He took a hesitant step forward. Mira, she cut him off sharply, eyes flashing. Don't, Arav. Don't even think that showing up now erases what you did. We survived without you. I protected our children without your so-called help. Arav flinched, but he forced himself to continue. I know I was wrong. I can't even begin to explain why You don't get to explain, Mira snapped. Not yet. You have to understand something. Actions have consequences, Arav. Words have weight. You told me and Anya we were a burden. That's not something you just apologize for and walk away from. I have 2 children now, and I will not let anyone, especially you, hurt them again. He nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. He had always been used to control, to power, to bending the world to his will. But here, in this sterile hospital room, stripped of all pretense, he felt helpless, and it terrified him. I just couldn't handle it, he admitted, his voice low. The business, the pressure. I thought I was protecting us, but You thought you were protecting yourself. Mira finished, her voice hard but weary. We were never your burden, Arav. Your pride, your arrogance, that's what nearly destroyed us. Arav's eyes fell to the floor. For the first time, he felt the weight of his actions in a way no boardroom decision or corporate crisis had ever made him feel. He looked at Anya and the newborn in the nurse's arms. They were so small, so fragile, and he had almost let them slip through his fingers. I don't know how to fix this, he admitted, voice breaking slightly, but I'll do whatever it takes. I can't lose you. I can't lose them. Mira studied him silently. She wanted to believe him, but trust wasn't rebuilt overnight. Actions, Arav, not words. You've had words all your life. Now I need to see actions. I need to know that my children and I are safe, that you won't let your pride come between us again. He nodded, determination replacing fear. I'll prove it, whatever it takes. At that moment, the nurse returned with the newborn swaddled in a soft blanket. Mira cradled her baby close, feeling the warmth and fragility of life in her arms. Arav watched, transfixed. It hit him. These children were his legacy, his heart, the parts of him that mattered more than any company or deal, and he had been blind to it. Over the next hours, he stayed outside the delivery room, pacing, thinking, reflecting. He realized that his empire, his wealth, his control, none of it meant anything if the people he loved most were hurting. Later that evening, when Mira and the children were moved to a recovery room, Arav approached cautiously, keeping his distance. Can I see them? He asked softly, not demanding, not expecting. Mira hesitated, then nodded slightly. Just for a moment. He entered and knelt beside the bed, careful not to touch anything without permission. Anya peeked from behind Mira's shoulder, eyes wide, and the newborn fussed softly. Arav's chest tightened, and he realized just how small and precious they were. I promise, I'll be better, he whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. I'll be there. I'll protect you. I'll do right by you. Mira studied him, seeing sincerity for the first time, but she didn't answer. Instead, she held her children close, letting her gaze convey both caution and tentative hope. Arav understood the silent message. Trust had to be earned. Days passed in the hospital, each filled with quiet tension and unspoken emotions. Arav stayed nearby, helping when allowed, giving space when asked. He learned to read Mira's subtle signals, the tiny gestures that showed whether she felt safe or threatened. One night, as the city lights twinkled outside the hospital window, Arav finally found the courage to sit beside Mira. I know I can't undo what I did, he said softly, but I want to be here. Not for me, not for my pride, for you and them. Please, let me try. Mira looked at him, her eyes weary but softening. We'll see, Arav. Actions speak louder than words. And right now, you need to understand that love is more than control. It's sacrifice. It's patience. It's putting us first. Always. He nodded, silently vowing to himself that he would spend every moment making amends. He had lost control that morning, but he wouldn't lose them again. For the first time, Arav understood. The greatest power wasn't in wealth or authority, was in the hearts of the people you loved, and he would do everything to earn their trust, their forgiveness, and their love. The city outside shimmered with neon lights, but inside the hospital room, a quiet tension lingered. Mira rested on the bed, her newborn cradled against her chest, Anya curled up beside her. Arav stood at the edge of the room, hands clasped tightly, unsure how to bridge the chasm he had created. For days, he had stayed near, not intrusive, but present. He helped when asked, stayed silent when told to, learned the rhythm of Mira's life and the needs of their children. Every gesture, no matter how small, was a promise. I will not hurt you again. Finally, Mira broke the silence. Arav, you've been here every day. Quietly, I see it. But forgiveness isn't given lightly. You've lost our trust once. How do I know you won't break it again? He knelt before her, his gaze steady, unwavering. I can't erase what I did, but I can prove I've changed. I will put you and the girls first, always. No pride, no excuses, just us. Mira studied him. His eyes, for the first time, were free of arrogance, only honesty and regret. Her heart, so battered, still fluttered. Could he really be different? Could he earn back their lives? Their love? Days turned into weeks. Arav learned to change diapers, soothe midnight cries, and make breakfast. Anya, shy at first, slowly warmed to him. The newborn, tiny and fragile, became the living proof of their new chapter. Arav stayed patient, never rushing, never forcing affection, but showing love in every action. One evening, as the sun set outside, painting the room in warm amber, Mira watched Arav cradle the baby. He hummed softly, a lullaby he had remembered from her childhood. The baby's tiny hand grasped his finger instinctively, and Arav smiled. Genuinely, for the first time in months. I think I'm ready, Mira said softly, stepping closer. Arav looked up, hope flickering in his chest. Ready to let you back in? To trust you again, but this time, only if you truly keep your promises. Arav nodded, his heart full. I will, forever. Tears streamed down Mira's face, not from pain, but from relief, hope, and love slowly rekindled. She let herself take a step closer, letting him gently hold both children as she watched. For the first time since that cruel morning, she felt safe, supported, and seen. In the weeks that followed, their life began to rebuild. Arav wasn't perfect, but he was present. He learned the quiet joys of family, the laughter at breakfast, Anya's first steps, the soft coos of their newborn at midnight. He learned humility, patience, and the true meaning of love. And one evening, as the city lights twinkled below, Mira sat with Arav on the hospital balcony, both children nestled between them. She looked at him and whispered, I never thought we'd get here, but you proved me wrong. Arav held her close, feeling her heart against his. You and the girls, you saved me. I just had to realize it. In that moment, all the walls they had built, the hurt, the pride, the fear, began to crumble. Love, patience, and understanding replaced anger. Their bond, tested by cruelty, adversity, and life itself, emerged stronger than ever. Life would not always be easy. There would be challenges, sleepless nights, and moments of doubt. But they had learned that together, they could face anything. And that morning, when Arav had cast them out, had become the moment that reshaped him into the man they needed him to be. As Mira watched Arav gently rock the newborn and whisper to Anya, she realized one simple truth. Families are not built on perfection, they're built on forgiveness, growth, and the courage to fight for each other. And Arav, once a man blinded by pride, had finally seen what truly mattered. Together, they stepped forward, not as the broken family they once were, but as a new family, stronger, united, and ready to embrace the future. The end.